at Bloomberg, and now the majority of the content on the show, Jason Schreier's dropped another bomb. So in his recent article, it delved into Sony's obsession about blockbusters, and it has made some big revelations actually. So one revelation is that the sequel to Days Gone was pitched and rejected, and that The Last of Us is getting remade again. But it looks like actually...
Well, no, it was remastered. Now it's
Yes.
getting remade.
Oh, thank you, Mike. I was about to say that. So, yeah, the article really does center a lot on the visual arts service group, which, as always with a lot of the AAA games, they will use third-party studios. We saw it recently with CDPR, a studio in Canada that they actually ended up buying, that helped them finish out, well, quote-unquote finish Cyberpunk for launch. And Visual Arts Service Group has helped Naughty Dog and other Sony entities finish games, including Last of Us 2. And they were starting to do Last of Us Remake themselves, but the article goes into depth about how, as Last of Us Part 2 finished, more and more Naughty Dog employees came along and then started to really not throw their weight around, but by the virtue of the fact that some of them actually worked on The Last of Us, the first game back in, the early 2010s, it's pretty hard to argue with someone about the vision of a game when they've actually created the game. So they very much felt like they were sort of getting pushed on the outer. It also goes into Sony Bend, which is the studio behind Days Gone, a game that was poorly received critically and probably partly due to themselves, where there was a very buggy build that everyone reviewed. So it's turned so many people off that game, a lot of reviewers and a lot of influencers. But supposedly the version on PS5, which is available for free as part of PS Plus, is pretty playable. People say it's a pretty decent game. So that was also pitched to have a sequel. It's been rejected, and it looks like they are making a new IP or a new title. So it's kind of interesting. Swinny, there's a lot in this article. Like, what else was there that I might have missed out?
Look, this article, obviously, its insights are fantastic. Like, Schreier is, usually always, great.
A true
with that.
journalist.
I do think that there was some comparisons within the article that just felt a bit odd to me. It was. I don't think it was his best work. I think there was some of the stuff that I'm just like, that just feels a little petty. I'm just trying to find exactly what it was. Mike, while I'm looking that up, what are your thoughts about a Last of Us remake?
Yeah, I don't get it, to be honest. So there was the remaster that was done for PS4. Are they actually... Because I found the article was a little thin on details. Are they actually looking at completely remaking it, as in a whole new, using an updated version of the engine, new assets, or is it just to get it slightly visually remade?
No, they talk about it having a new graphical engine.
I don't know why they would spend the time and effort to do that. I mean, number one still looks great. You can play it on PS4, you can play it on PS5. It still looks fantastic even to this day, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know why you'd waste all those resources remaking something like that when you can use those resources to work on number 3 or another game.
Well, I
don't know what I'm missing. Am I missing something?
No, but you know what? Like, because I had the exact same reaction as you. I was like, oh, really? Like, they're gonna do this game again? Like, but I do wonder if it's, some of this is maybe PR and timing, because
for the show.
No, more just, this game will not come out for maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe in 3 years' time, if they go, there's a remake of Last of Us, people will go, oh, cool. Okay. Like, the remaster came out like 8 years ago.
Okay, fair point, yeah.
You know what I mean? But the fact that we know now, it just kind of makes you go, oh, really?
Well,
like,
so the only thing I can think of is touching on that point is that they're doing the TV show.
Sure.
And I believe it's based loosely. I'm probably gonna have to do a correction next week.
No, it's based on the first game.
I think it's based loosely on the first game.
No, it
so
is.
you can kind of see why they would.
Different angles. Like, they've already said that some stuff won't be the same, but yeah.
So you can kind of see why that would make sense, if it becomes a popular show, which it probably will become a popular show given
maybe
what The Walking Dead was like.
But do you think, like, the timing of that... Look, I know obviously TV shows can take a long time to produce, but this seems like this was often running from that Visual Arts Service Group team before this TV show was a thing. So it's like to say that it's they're doing this because of that. I think it just maybe is the timing's probably it's not coincidental, but it's just probably going to work out well for them if they.
It might work out well, yeah. But honestly, I don't know from an executive level why they would have made that decision.
Oh, but it makes sense though. It sells. Like, and now that they're basically giving that game away for free in lots of capacities, or next to nothing, even if you buy it brand new, doing a remake and changing a few things, let's be real, like a bunch of people will buy it. Yeah, like that's what all the data has told them. So from a business point of view, it's super obvious why they're doing this. But from a consumer point of view, it's kind of just boring, and you feel like it's a bit of a waste of resource, especially if Naughty Dog have taken it over again. It's like, really? Is this what they're going to work on? Like something that they've already done? Doesn't feel like, to your point, Mike, at the start, it's like, what new are they going to say through this game? Feels like nothing.
So this ties into the thing that I was just looking up in an article that I found a bit strange for Schreier to raise. So it's about that whole focus on, blockbusters versus the whole creative, more niche titles and things. And he brings up Dreams.
Oh, yeah, dude. Can I just say, I had go on. Because I had the same thing. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, he basically, likens the fact that they didn't promote Dreams to the fact that Roblox is a huge, massive game that's like one of the biggest games in the world, saying, kind of almost insinuating that if they'd promoted it, potentially could have been Sony's Roblox. And I'm just like, Roblox is such a, like, I don't think you can compare that. Dreams is a very different thing than something that's like obviously targeted at children, and is YouTube, everywhere in YouTube, like Roblox. Like, it just felt like such a stretch to kind of make that comparison.
And I think we're all fans of Schreier. And like for me, if I had a journalistic tier list, it would just generally be like him, and then maybe 2 tiers empty, and then a whole bunch of other journalists, and then Kotaku at the bottom in trash tier.
Hey, but Patrick Klepek's pretty up there.
Well, I'm more saying Kotaku as an entity. I mean, Schreier was at Kotaku, and I still would have had him in the top tier. But that was a stupid point. That was, I don't know, just very, like, I'm surprised it didn't get edited out, because it's almost like someone who doesn't even know what Roblox is. Like, honestly, like, I feel like it's not even that different if you said, if they promoted it differently, it could have been like Minecraft. It's like what? It's totally different to Roblox. Like, the whole model of Roblox is different to Dreams. And then, the only way it makes sense, his point, is if he basically says, if they made a game like Roblox, it could have been like Roblox. Like, it doesn't make any sense, his point. So, yeah, that still stood out really well.
Let's just move on. I mean, we're not here to critique other articles, right? It's more...
Yeah, we are.
What's going on with The Last of Us remake?
No, this story is also about that article, So okay, I think that this whole Sony's obsession with blockbusters, look, it's obviously working for them in many ways, especially financially. But from, as you're saying, Dugot, from a consumer standpoint, it does kind of feel like the creativity is kind of a bit bare bones, when we're not getting those niche titles. But it's honestly, at the end of the day, it's business. What can I say?
It's all business numbers, man.
Yeah, there's a cool book called Blockbusters. It's like a relatively older book now, but I actually think the book has a lot of value into what the next sort of 10 years will look like, because there is something very powerful about mega hits in whatever field you're talking about, and its ability to draw people in. You'll see it through, like, Michael Jordan with the NBA. You have someone who's just so much better than everyone else, and like more than a generational athlete, more like a once in a lifetime athlete, that it brings people into the medium itself. Like, they weren't even, interested in it. So, I mean, from that theoretical point of view, it does kind of make a lot of sense what Sony's doing. Like, I'd love to think and, be able to do this experiment of, like, would I have even bought a PS4 if it wasn't for some of the huge mega hits that Sony had, like, God of War and things like that, where I was like, I feel like I have to get this console just to play these games because it's just, like, so good. And same as Nintendo, right? Like, with Zelda and Mario. Like, how much do they draw in people from the start, and then all the rest of the games come from that. So
I feel
Well, I think
really.
what's
Oh, sorry,
you go,
go,
Sonny.
mate.
No, you go.
I was gonna say I feel really bad for fans of Days Gone to hear this news,
Yeah.
because if one thing is almost a sure bet is that Sony Blockbusters will get a sequel, and to
Yeah.
hear that news, it's probably a bit of a a kick in the nuts.
have to say it's not shocking though, but and it's funny. I really do think the whole game has died because of how it launched more from a review perspective, like with a broken game, and it got terrible scores on Metacritic. But the build that was released like 2 weeks later was totally different, which is like very strange the way that they did that process.
I'm looking forward to playing it. I think back to the point about Blockbusters is I think in order to create some of those games, you need to put so much money behind it and so many resources and so much time that from an executive point of view, you need to justify where you put that money into. It's a huge decision to make. It's not like, you develop a game for a year or something with a small team of people and you can afford to pay them, no problem. And I think they still need to do stuff like that because there's a lot of really cool gems, really cool indie stuff that Sony, backed or that was released on their platform specifically, which were massive hits. But I think from an executive decision, you can kind of see how they go, well, if we're going to invest millions of dollars into a game, potentially more than millions, tens of millions, even hundreds of millions, they need to justify that cost. So that's why they go for the big blockbusters and they go for the cash cows. Same as Nintendo, like Nintendo, we talked about this before. They sometimes go out of their way to try a new IP or try something different, but they still just go for the cash cow. They still go for the big Mario games that they know will sell. They know they can justify pumping all that money into development for.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a huge gamble when you think about
That's
it.
true.
In so many ways. There's just so many studios that went bust because the game didn't, get received as well as they thought they would.
And I know I can come across as pretty cold sometimes, but I do feel sorry for the guys and girls behind Visual Arts Service Group, just with like that feeling of, hey, this could be something of our own, build it through, especially if you're doing like a remake, you kind of, you know the bones of the game and you can build from there. So it's, from a risk perspective, it's a lot less, in terms of, will it be a hit or not? And it gets you sort of, your feet wet in terms of building a game yourself. And then to have it sort of through a transition, through almost osmosis, not stolen from you, but taken from you. And then, so many of the people leaving Sony because of it, it would really suck. Like that really sucks. So yeah, and it sucks about the Days Gone too for people who are looking forward to it. All right, let's move on to the next news article. E3 2021 has been